Hello, everybody. Welcome to Autofocus. My name is Brooke. I'm your host. And today I am joined by our friend, Junaid. Junaid, thank you and welcome so much for being here. We met at Podcast Movement in Dallas, probably like about a month ago. But for everybody that doesn't already know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Well, I'm a home studio architect and a podcaster, a father of 4, and happily married. So what does a home studio architect do? I help build studios for podcasters so that they can look their best, their most authentic self. And not only does that up their authority, it also boosts their confidence and people take them seriously because they can actually be heard and seen properly. That most likely they weren't doing that. Like I just had a call with a gentleman. He has 3 PhD degrees. He's done so much work in so many different areas, but he is like the video didn't carry that over. Like he had to say all of those things that he's done to build that authority. But when you have a setup like the one that I'm sharing and the one that you have, it automatically gives you authority.
Yeah, it just gives it that like pro look, you know, you're like, oh, you're not using a cell phone and you're not just sitting in your living room, like recording this. Like you might actually be in your living room, but you put some thought into it. So I think that's really cool. So, okay. How did you learn photography? I wanted to talk about, let's start at the beginning.
So when I was about 11 years old, my uncle was like, hey, for $1, I will give you a camera as a gift. So I was like, okay, here's $1. And I got this film camera and I was like, wow, this is really cool. What can I do with it? And so that was the early beginnings. And as I grew older, I played with different types of cameras. We had tape, 8mm tape video cameras. So you could put in these tapes and then, record. Then that moved to digital cameras. So I've been behind camera for a very long time, over 30 years easily, right? And as I grew more comfortable with cameras, my wife was like, okay, we're going to get you a DSLR so our anniversary, she got me a DSLR camera. This is 2013. And I was like, okay, I need to know every single thing this camera can do, every single thing. And as I went down the path, I read over or took over 15 different courses, Hollywood camera work, foundation of photography, and those courses are still available on LinkedIn Learning and different platforms. But that's what really got me understanding the trifecta things that make camera and photography possible.
I love it that you learned on LinkedIn. I get that ad like all the time, where it's like, like photography 101 or, foundations of photography.
Yeah.
And I've never actually clicked on it. And so that's really cool that you did that.
What's really cool is that this is before LinkedIn Learning had these courses. Before, it used to be called lynda.com. So that's where I learned
I remember Linda.
all of my courses on photography and filmmaking. And he even taught, like in one of the courses, he even taught, this is how you shoot an interview. Over the shoulder kind of setup. The person is never looking at the camera. They're always looking at the side because that's where the person is sitting, and then you switch back and forth. But with the pandemic, we all started looking directly into the camera, kind of like newscasters.
Yeah, I can totally see that because during the pandemic, then I started doing a lot more like Zoom meets and Google meets, and I mean, and you're supposed to be looking at the person that you're interviewing, but I'm gonna be honest, I mostly look at myself to make sure that I'm not making a weird face or something. I'm always like, "Is my hair okay?"
Yeah.
So, but no one notices because like you're looking at the same screen. So I think that's really funny. And I remember Linda. Oh my goodness, I think that's how I learned After Effects was on Linda.
That's it.
It was during when I was doing a master's degree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is amazing. What got you interested in photography?
So that first intro into taking photos and then that small camera and then knowing that I could capture a photo and, have that. But then I also saw my uncle and my friend. So I used to work at a computer store and my friend was a wedding photographer and filmmaker. So he would take these beautiful photos. I'm like, wow, that's really fascinating. And then it wasn't till later when I got this camera that I started joining meetup groups. And in the meetup groups, they would go detail into, hey, here's how you take headshots, or here's how you do portrait photography. Here's how you set up 3-light setup. Like that really pulled me into it because I am a curious guy. So once I discover one thing, I want to go deep all the way. So that got me even more interested in learning about photography. But plus, you're capturing these memories, and we all know we all like to sit around a coffee table and go through old photos. And, we do that every once in a while when we're back home at my parents'.
Yeah, no, I do. I love that too. I have we have giant bookshelves in my living room, and they're full of photo albums.
Yeah.
And so it's always so fun to like pick them up. And my husband's always like, "Why don't you be in the moment?" And I'm like, "Who's going to remember it for us if I'm not taking the pictures?" So, and so I totally understand about that. And then also another thing, I used to be a wedding photographer too, and I'm not anymore. But my favorite thing is on Facebook when people have their wedding anniversaries and they're posting photos that I took at their wedding.
Yeah.
And those are it's really cool to see. And I'm like, yeah, you're still together. Yes. And I was like, and I get to see the photos all over again because I don't go look at people's weddings all the time, so it's kind of fun to see it. I'm like, oh, that was fun. I remember taking that wedding photo. So I love photos are definitely memories. But I know one time we were, when we talked before, we were talking a lot about light. And I think you said something really cool about how like photography is just painting with light. And I really love that. Do you want to elaborate on like kind of like where that came from?
You want to shape the subject that you're shooting. And it all depends on where the sun is in the sky. If you're doing landscape photography, if you're doing portrait photography, where's the sun? Where's the light coming from? Because you want to highlight the person that you're taking a photo of, and then they're going to admire it. So that's what I mean, painting with light. And the other reason I mentioned painting with light is because when I'm setting up a studio space, I'm doing exactly the same thing, and that's painting with light. So I'll do a little demonstration of my little studio space as we paint with light. So let me go down here, turn off the different lights.
Where did you go? Just kidding.
I disappeared. So if I just had my office lights on, you can kind of see the regular room light that most people experience when they're on Zoom because they just have their overhead light. What I like to do is I like to have a fully blacked out room and then start adding lights. Now, the reason why the camera didn't adjust back is because I've locked the camera to manual mode so that as I bring the lights in, the camera setting stays locked in. So I've got my key light, then I've got my fill light, and then I've got my hair light. And this is the 3-point lighting that's basically lights you up from 3 different points, and it helps you to be seen by the camera. As you can see, we have a little darker background, and that's also known as studio lighting because we're highlighting the talent in the subject. And that background could literally be a black backdrop, a white backdrop, or any color backdrop, and you're kind of good to go. But what I was like, I got to add some flair. I got to add some color to this setup. So I added some shelf light and floodlights to then bring in that additional color, bringing that additional, what's that word?
I'm going to say
character to the image. Yeah.
I like that. That's so cool. What made you choose those colors? Because you can change the colors, right?
I can change the colors, and I have previous shots where it was all red, and I was like, no, I gotta have a contrasting color, so blue and red kind of mix into a purple. And the reason I chose blue and red is because those are the colors for my Home Studio Mastery logo and my other company logo.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's ours too. We have it's us pink and orange. So
nice.
That's ours.
I like it.
Yeah. So that's ours too. So yeah, no, I love that. And that's literally like we use a lot of the same methods to like light our studios. And especially like when you come into podcast videos, that's how you get to customize like your studio space. Like, you can't come in and build your own set, but you can like customize it and do certain things and it's amazing how just like a little bit of light just makes a little bit of difference. So that's super cool. All right, but let's talk about cameras. Okay, what was your first camera?
So the first camera was a film camera. It could have been a Pentax. It could have been a Konica Minolta. I can't remember at all because that was a long time ago. But I do remember that my second camera that I was very fond of was I think it was a Canon. So we had a Canon film camera. Then I had a Canon point and shoot cameras. And then I also used to have a Sony point and shoot camera with a longer lens. But again, those were, 5, 6, 10 megapixel cameras.
Yeah, right?
Now we're at such high resolution. It's kind of amazing what we can do with photography. So those were some of my first cameras that I used.
Yeah, I remember the first digital cards. Like my first digital camera when I was working at the newspaper in like the early 2000s. And the card for like a whole day's work was like 250 megabytes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could put so many pictures on there. That's how small those files were when they were coming off the camera.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
And now we're at gigabytes sizes and whatnot.
Terabyte. You're gonna get a terabyte card or something. It's crazy. I love that. Okay, and so I wanted to talk to you because it's another conversation we had earlier. This one we had at Podcast Movement where we were talking about the best camera for everybody to start out with.
Yeah.
So like, if you're just starting out, you're kind of intimidated by these cameras and lenses and buttons. What camera should you use?
The camera that you want to start using is, you already probably have it. And we've all had these cameras in our pockets for say 18 years, right? Because we've been using smartphones with a beautiful front screen and beautiful cameras in the back. So why not use that camera? And there are different apps that you can use, that you can download, that will give you even more control on the lens. You could play with the ISO. You can play with the aperture. You could play with the exposure, like all of the different things that you can do on a camera, you can do on your smartphone using that app. So that's the best camera that I would suggest you start playing with. Get really creative.
Yeah. What are some things? Because I know I see people, all the time where they have like they have their phone and they're just walking around and they're like taking pictures. They're just literally just like pushing the button. So what kind of things can somebody do to just kind of like to basically level up on using that cell phone camera in a way that where it'll look more artistic?
Yeah, so the number one thing that you want to do is you want to compose your shot, and if you can, enable the thirds on the third lines on your screen. So it's usually called the grid. You can also look at the golden rule and see where are the leading lines. So when you're taking a shot, think about leading lines. Think about using those 9 squares on that shot, because you want to create interest. You want to create character of the photos. The photo speaks 1,000 words, right? So you want to make sure it's not just a picture of a fire hydrant, but it's a picture of a fire hydrant in a busy street, right? So you create that story, you create a message through those photos. And you probably heard of, photographers and journalistic photographers that went into war. What were they capturing? What kind of photos were they capturing? They're capturing photos of people in despair. They're following pictures of people that are, holding back, or, of the military that's going out. So there's a ton that you can tell from that picture just by the way you shoot it.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. I love that. As a photojournalist, I mean, I never got to shoot in a war zone or anything, but
yeah,
I know. But my mother was happy about it. I was not happy about it. I wanted to go, but yeah. So but it's just doing you do that every day, where all you're doing is just looking and you're waiting to find that different angle and that different thing. And I remember a lot of the things that we would do is wait. You would just wait. Yes. You would find the composition, and then you would wait for the frame to like some action to happen.
Exactly.
And so you don't have to just be like taking pictures all the time. You don't have to take like 700 pictures. You can literally just like hold it up. You're like, I like this. I'm just going to wait for like that person to walk through, and then I'm going to take some pictures. So
Absolutely.
I think, just kind of like find the composition, find the like find out like this is the frame. I framed it, and now I'm waiting for the action to happen inside of it. So
it tells a story.
So it tells a story. Yeah, right. Telling the story is like the most important thing. Because that's I think other than painting with light, that's the other point of photography is the photos tell 1,000 words, and so videos tell 1,000 words a second. So
yes, exactly. Brooke, something you mentioned about the waiting thing, right? It reminded me of a story where this wildlife photographer, he was holed up in this mountain for I think 3 weeks. So he can capture a glimpse of a snow leopard. And that photo was absolutely brilliant because not only was he using a massive 1600 millimeter lens because he's miles away, but he was able to capture this beautiful photo of this snow leopard in its original habitat. So waiting is the name of the game because you can capture some really good shots.
Exactly. Yeah. It's slowing down. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're not in the moment." You're like, "I'm actually like super focused in this moment right now." Like
exactly.
Like I'm more in this moment than you are. And I'll have a memory of it. So So I mean, how did your love of light and photography? How did it lead into building home studios?
It's a great question because as I've been behind camera for so long. For the past 15 years, I've been behind camera, shooting films, capturing moments or capturing stories and doing behind the scenes photography for TV shows and film, behind the scenes videos for TV show. Hey, this is what goes on behind a TV show. The work that goes into, here's the actor, he's out in the cold and we're waiting for the perfect time so that we can then shoot. So, shooting that kind of stuff, shooting commercials and documentaries and whatnot. So I've been behind camera for so long. But when the pandemic hit, we were all stuck at home. Now, I had already been podcasting audio only for my Hacks and Hobbies podcast. And as the pandemic hit, I was like, well, we're stuck in this home, stuck in the house. And I wanted to create a video course on teaching people how to shoot proper video and photos on a smartphone. Well, that never happened because I didn't have a studio. But by the time the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, well, now I have the time. I can build a studio out here. And as I started doing that, people around me start asking me, are you using Zoom? I'm like, yes. Like, why does your video look so good? Because I'm on Zoom and my video looks like shit. So I'd be like, well, it's a matter of how you place the lighting and how you place the microphone and how you frame yourself in the shot. So all of those things combined, I would tell them, here's what's going on and here's what you got to do. So they would ask me if I could consult with them and show them what I'm doing. And they were like just blown away by what few little tips help them, create a set or create a stage for themselves that, just massive transformation, let's just say that. So that's how I got started. That's how I got into building studios for others.
That's awesome. What kind of tools do you use? Like, I know that I'm a really visual person, and my husband, like, he'll talk about, like, we redid our kitchen during the pandemic, and he's like, yeah, and then we're going to take this part out, and then we're going to build a new pantry, and we're going to do this and do that. And I was like, he's like, don't you see it? And I was like, no, I don't. And I'm like, I'm going to need you to literally draw me a picture. So when you're talking to somebody about like how to build out their studio, how do you help them like visually see what your vision?
Yeah, so use different applications that my clients have access to, and then some application that I have access to. So the simplest thing that I ask them is, hey, can you give me the dimensions of your room? Can you show me, send me some pictures so I know where the doors are, where the windows are, and if you have any closets or whatnot, if maybe you have some mirrors in the room. And then once they send those things to me, then I'm able to put the plan together using my 3D building software. Basically, it's architecture software that architects use to kind of give an idea of their architectural clients, what their home might look like. So just like you were saying, your husband had an exact idea of what that kitchen might look like, but we still need to see it visually. And we actually did a very similar thing. I would go to the IKEA website and they had a kitchen designer software, and I was like, hey, this is how we can lay out our room and blah, blah. So then my wife could actually visualize it. Oh, this is what the room's going to look like. So that's the kind of software that I use to take the dimensions and the photos from my clients and then rebuild that room in 3D software. So then we can walk around, we can kind of get the measurements and kind of get an idea of what kind of lighting, what kind of cameras, and how far does it need to be from the person, put that together.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's super cool. You can do it virtually. Like, you don't have to be there, which means you can work with anybody anywhere.
Exactly. I just finished working with a client in UK, and I'm here in Herndon, Virginia, and he was able to literally build out what we talked about, and then we jumped on the last Zoom call and like, okay, I just need these few little tweaks. I tweaked it for them. I helped them set up his Zoom, and voila, he's got the look that I had envisioned for him. And now he's like, oh my God, I feel so much more empowered to create content. I feel so enthusiastic. Like he's like, I'm creating content every single day because I have the space. And when people come to visit his house, guess what he's doing? He's like, dude, come on, you got to check out my studio. Look at this. This is so cool.
Like, come to my studio. This is so cool. Yeah, you're like, come on. Yeah, that's really cool. And yours is, that's cool that you can help someone make something that they're super proud of. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you don't just do like studios, right? You have a book, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is your book?
So my book is called The 7 Stages of Home Studio Evolution. And as the past 4 years that people have been asking me questions, I was like, well, what if there was a book that answered all of these questions? Because they would come and ask me, okay, what camera should I get? I'm at this budget level. I don't want to spend too much money. What should I use? So I was like, a book would be perfect to put all this information in. So I created a book called 7 Stages of Home Studio Evolution. And each stage, you're leveling up, not just yourself, but also the gear that goes in your studio.
That's really cool. So like where does it start? Does it start like cell phone?
Yeah, so it starts with a smartphone camera, and we call that stage the novice stage because everyone's a novice with a smartphone. And then as they move up to the next stage, which is the hobbyist stage, they've now spent some money and bought a better microphone as opposed to using the microphone on their phone, or maybe they're using a wireless microphone. So that's the hobbyist stage. And then as we're doing this, we're also taking care of the lighting. We're also looking at what's seen in their shot, because they're, again, setting the stage for their show, setting the stage for whatever video content that they're looking to create. So that's the third stage is the enthusiast. This is where they're like, okay, you know what? I'm a little more dedicated to what I want to do. Maybe I want to get a camera, a crop sensor camera, or maybe a micro four thirds camera, so that I can leave the camera and not use my phone anymore because I want to text people, hey, where are you at? So those are the first 3 stages. And then from that stage up, you go to semi-pro, professional, expert, and then the broadcaster. And again, in each level, they're working on one thing that no money can resolve.
Yeah, so just polish, like how to get to how do you know when you're getting ready to go to that next level?
Exactly. You're working on yourself. You're working on the storytelling. You're working on the communication. You're working on all of the things that make you unique, and you're no longer copying anybody else, right? People say you should start copying somebody, but then build your own personality around who you are, because we all might like the same things, but we are all have lived experiences and, come from different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. And so, yeah, basically, like, how do people know they're ready to go to the next phase? Is it just kind of like you just know it because, like, you're like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to, number one, invest. But I also think that, you're like, well, like, people have told me that, like, I interviewed good, so now I'm ready for the next level.
Yeah. So for example, if you were to say, hey, I want to start running a marathon, right? You'll know you're ready when you're no longer running out of breath. You're no longer, are saying, oh my God, this last mile was so hard. The temperature was so hot. And then as you're training for that marathon, you're getting better. Your body's acclimated to it. And then you're like, you know what? I need to buy me some faster shoes or lighter shoes. So that's when you know that you're ready to level up. And now you can run that marathon. So just like that, how comfortable are you in front of camera? How natural are you showing up? Like all of those things help you, you're going to know that I'm ready to upgrade as you go along that path and take that journey.
That's really cool. That's really good advice because, yeah, I think that's the hard part. I think people know because they're like, they're like, okay, I'm having fun doing this, but they're like, how do I know if I'm doing a good job? But I think it's this, so it's like if you're enjoying it, you like doing it, you like the way you look on camera, kind of. I mean, you're okay with the way you look on camera. I think is mostly it. Yeah. And then you're ready, and then you get comfortable and you're ready to take it to the next level. Like if you're ready to commit the time, I think time is a lot too. It's like a lot of people think this is really fun and it is, but it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time to get, like the prep that no one sees, like prep that goes into a podcast and like how we, how all the interviews we do beforehand and just getting to know each other. And then you go and you do the recording. So
exactly. Yeah.
It's more than just, you show up and just talk.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're the founder of this company, he has a podcast and he really does just like roll in, reads like a little like thing about the person he's about to interview, and then it's like they know each other their whole life. So, but not everybody is that natural.
Yeah, I mean, you again, right? You got to build that rapport with yourself and have that knowledge base as well. I mean, we were just in studio recording a podcast for a client of mine, and they brought in this gentleman who's probably in his 80s, nominated for two Nobel Peace Prizes. Oh. He's done like so much work, and he's doing space law. He's doing all sorts of amazing things, right? And he had so much knowledge that you could throw any question at him, and he knew the answer because he does the research, and he also is a lawyer. So again, the more learned you are, the better you're going to be at asking questions and answering questions and being just naturally yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, lawyers are really good at stuff like that. That's like their job. But okay, I wanted to ask, I always have one last question that I ask everybody is what advice would you give to someone just starting out? Like if there was one piece of advice you would give to them, what would it be?
The one thing that creators whichever journey you're on as a creator, you want to figure out what the end goal is, right? What is the end goal with this journey that you're grabbing, getting to? If the end goal is to get 1,000 subscribers, well, get ready to post a ton of content, right? And doing the reps, you want to do as many reps as possible. And as you do the reps, you will figure out the niche that you want to go into. For example, when I started my podcast, I had no idea what the podcast was going to be called, but I was like, I need to get started. And I started recording audio podcasts in my car on the smartphone. I was like, all this equipment.
Soundproofing? Is it the sound? Because like the car soundproofing.
And then I was just motivated. I was tired of waiting. I was like, I just got to get started. And sure, I did about 60 episodes in my car, all solo episodes. I felt motivated. In some of them, I felt like, do I really want to do it? Yes, I do need to do the rep. It's like when you go into the gym and you're training for something, you got to go because if you lose 1 day or 2 days, it's all backwards. You know, you're all gone. Yeah, you've lost all the work that you put in. So again, put in a ton of reps. You're gonna know where you want to end up, and just get started.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, just get started, because I think that's the biggest barrier that a lot of people face. It's like, I don't know, I haven't thought about this, I haven't thought about that. We have some people, some clients, they're like still working on like their show logo, and you're like, you can always change that later. Like you don't need to do that right now. Like, let's just get started on some content. Okay. And so thank you so much for being here. I wanted to give you one last push to plug anything you want. Plug your business, plug your book. Like, where can people find you? Where can people find the book?
Absolutely.
So one last plug.
All right. So head on over to homestudiobook.com if you're interested in the book. I'll show you what the book looks like.
It's beautiful.
And if you want to learn more about Home Studio Mastery, you can go to homestudiomastery.com. And to listen to my hundreds of podcast episodes, just head on over to hacksandhobbies.com. I gave you 3 different links, and they say you should only give them 1 link. But there you go.
That's fine. Yeah, now they have choices. That's amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much, Junaid. This was amazing. It's great to talk to you. I hope we can come back and do maybe some more learning sessions. And so Thank you so much for being here, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brooke, for the opportunity.
Thank you.